WNDS Sports and Tri-State Megabucks present Candlepin Skins. It's bowling with a whole new twist as New England's best bowlers battle for cash prizes in every box. Candlepin Skins is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hey everybody, and welcome once again to the Londonderry Bowling Center here in Londonderry, New Hampshire for another Saturday edition of Candlepin Skins. Thanks so much for joining us, Doug Brown, along with Dan Murphy. And last week, Dan, hope everybody was tuned in. We saw a terrific performance again by Neil Gosselin, a 190 in the second game last week to again advance.
Yeah, it's a skins format, but we haven't lost the concept of real candlepin bowling, and he showed us how it was done last week with that 190.
All right, Neil back again this week along with Dan Brodeur. This will be Neil's fourth week in a row, third week in a row for Dan Brodeur. And of course, they will be joined by two new bowlers. And here's a look at the guys who qualified for these next few weeks here on Candlepin Skins. Joe Ashline will be here today. He topped the roll-off sequence. Paul St. Pierre, who's been with us many times before in previous programs, of course, will be here today. And then positions 3 through 8, these are the guys who will be with us in the weeks to come. A lot of newcomers, in fact, Dan. Dan Gauthier, Rich Clark from Bedford, New Hampshire, Mike Curry from Springfield, Vermont. Mike Sargent will return in a couple of weeks, Dennis Valcourt, and Rich Lottie. So we do have some new blood in this sequence.
And we got New England pretty well covered with those bowlers.
That's right. And we've got also a reminder quickly about the rules here for Candlepin Skins. For those of you who might be new to the program, here's the rundown on how it all works. Bowlers compete one box at a time. The high score in a box wins the skin. The skin is simply the dollar value attached to each box. So the high box wins the skin. If 2 or more bowlers tie, then the money carries over to the next box. Top 2 bowlers in total pinfall will return next week. We already told you how that works. Neil Gosselin and Dan Brodeur returning after last week's win and second place finish, respectively. Now, here's the money value. Boxes 1 through 3 worth $10 each, 4 through 6, $15 each. Boxes 7 through 9 worth $25 each, and the 10th box in each game worth $50. And of course, only 2 games in the hour here on Candlepin Skins, unlike 3 games over on the singles show. But the idea is, of course, to hopefully build that jackpot up and get some big money on the line.
And of course, listen real close, because we got a mic down there, and the bowlers love that, and it's a lot of fun to listen to them.
We hope you're ready for Candlepin Skins here on the Winds of New England. We'll take a quick time out and get the match started. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to Candlepin Skins, and here is a look at Dan Brodeur, who will get it started for us this week. Dan has finished second the last 2 weeks, but that's good enough to keep coming back. You can win a lot of money here by finishing second over and over again.
Dan's going to be looking at the 2-4-7. Now Neil Gosselin. Let's see if, well, right where he left off last week.
And Dan gets the spare.
Nice shot by Dan.
Neil with a pretty good chance to match that spare here. Neil Gosselin has just been, I was just going to say, he's been right on top of his game here the last few weeks. This is his 4th week in a row, and he's finished first the last 2 weeks, and of course capped off by that 190 a week ago.
Well, as you know by now, Dan Brodeur now leads for the skin with a spare, so it's going to take another spare to carry over or somebody throwing a strike to win the skin outright.
Here's Paul St. Pierre. Paul finished second in the roll-off, and here's the man who finished first, Joe Ashline. And he'll shoot at the single. A spare halves the skin, remember. No for Paul. Let's see if Joe can carry this skin over. He does not. So it'll go to Dan Brodeur. $10 skin for Dan Brodeur in box number 1. And a couple of 9s for Paul and Joe. So that's how it works here on Candlepin Skins. Dan Brodeur gets the first box skin for $10. Box number 2 also worth $10. Neil Gosselin.
Off target to the right is Neil. Dan Brodeur right back on the head pin, but this time 2 full. Boy, he walked that 6 pin right over. Just 4 on the fill.
Neither of these guys will have marks this time. Be an 8 for Neil. And a 10 for Dan Brodeur. On the scoreboard there on the right, that column on the right will keep you up to date on who wins the skins. You see Dan Brodeur taking that first box. Joe Ashline. Joe hasn't slowed down at all.
You know, I was just thinking those exact same words as you said it. Oh, big strike by Paul.
And that takes the skin for Paul St. Pierre. The strike in the second. Joe came about as close as you would want to a strike without getting one, but he left himself another single pin, which he gets for the spare. Here's the skin-winning strike for Paul. Just taps the 6 pin. So that's $10 for Paul St. Pierre. And we move to box number 3, Dan Brodeur.
4 horsemen left for Dan. 1, 2, 4, 7. And Neil Gosselin will shoot at those 2 pins for a spare. The 4 and 8. Neither spare was converted. Dan gets the 10.
And a 10 for Neil, so once again the door will be open for Paul St. Pierre and Joe Ashline.
Of course, Paul would love to throw another strike for a possible second skin, but to take the early lead in the match. Looks pretty good.
Oh,
there
yeah.
it is.
Double strike.
And that was a quick one.
Can Joe match it? Wow, 3 9-drops in a row for Joe Ashline. It's another spare for Joe, but another skin for Paul St. Pierre. And here it is. Whew. Tripping the 8 pin.
So no carryovers.
Not yet. This 4th box will be worth $15.
Both bowlers missing head pin to the right. Dan Brodeur has 4 horsemen left. Neil, 4 horsemen plus the 10 pin.
Oh, got it. Great shot. First mark for Neil Gosselin. No for Dan Brodeur, right around the 7 pin.
Well, like he hit that thin enough to carry the corner pin, which was a 7, but not to be.
So it's a 10. Dan pinning well, but has just that 1 mark. Here's the spare for Neil Gosselin. Great shot. Very crisply made.
Well, can Paul St. Pierre get his 3rd skin in a row with another strike?
Well, Neil Gosselin threw a triple last week.
Oh, it's just a matter of time before he threw one.
Wow. And Paul St. Pierre throws a half Worcester on the double strike, which will cost him in terms of total pinfall. Almost converts it for the spare.
Good pin, Paul.
And the 10 box using the guide. Let's take a look at Joe's strike to win the skin. Oof. Joe has had 3 9-drops and a strike so far.
And of course, with that strike, he wins the 4th box skin worth $15. We're going to talk to these bowlers. We want some carryovers.
That may not happen as long as guys keep throwing strikes every box.
Oh,
Neil Gosselin with just 3 on his spare. Costly.
Took out the 1, 8, and 9. Dan Brodeur with a great spare.
What a shot. Oh, can Neil make this one? If it falls backwards, he's got it. Oh, how about that?
Jump, Neil. Someone said in the crowd. I've tried that for years. It doesn't work. Great effort.
Neil will take a 9. He's at 50 at the halfway point. Let's take a look at that spare for Dan Brodeur.
3, 6, 10, 7, and 8 pins, and boy, that went out quick.
Boy, the 8 pin really slid right over into the 7. Very unusual. Paul St. Pierre. with just 3. Joe Ashline working on a strike. And somebody needs to convert here to have this skin, or else Dan Brodeur is going to win it.
Dan might be counting his money right about now. This would be a fantastic shot to have the skin by Joe Ashline.
Okay, give it to Dan Brodeur, his second skin. Paul with the 10, Joe with the 8. And we will take a break here on Candlepin Skins. At the halfway point of Game 1, we've had a skin one in every box so far. We'll return in a minute. All right, Neil Gosselin. Start the second half of Game 1. Kind of two different races going on here, Dan. Joe and Paul are just 2 pins apart. For the pinfall lead as Dan Brodeur throws strike on spare, but Dan Brodeur is closing in on the leaders. Neil Gosselin in 4th place right now.
Oh, great effort by Neil. Tried to have the 3-6 off the wall for the 4-pin, but that's twice now. 2 boxes in a row. He's come up short and made terrific spare shots.
Let's take a look at Dan's ball.
Just tripping that 6-pin, strike on spare, and as you said, he's climbing right back in the mathematical part of the game. 74 plus 2 balls in the 6. Joe Ashline 72 already, and Paul St. Pierre is 70 through 5.
Well, a couple of interesting shots here.
And very interesting to Dan Brodeur because that gives him the skin.
Yes. The 6th skin in a row that has been won. Not much there for Paul St. Pierre. A 2, 9, and 10. Joe Ashline gets a 9. So with neither of these guys marking, that's going to tighten up the total pinfall situation. In fact, Dan Brodeur could take the lead with his strike fill here.
Double strike.
Well, that's a pretty good fill.
I'll take it.
That will give him the lead for the moment.
Come on, Dan. Thanks.
Second double strike we've seen already.
And we'll have to start checking the records of our skins to realize, to see how many skins in a row starting a match. That's quite a few without a carryover.
Oh, Neil made it on the second try, kind of an unorthodox way. And here's Dan Brodeur's double.
And this is another quick one, right in the 1-3 pocket. 4, 5, and 7, the last 3 to go. And he's going to take over the lead, depending on what Paul and Joe do.
Joe Ashline's going to re-rack on lane 29. Some loose ball that got free on the lane.
Paul kicks out the 6-pin. Leaves himself the 4-7 with a nice piece of wood now.
Unless Joe throws a strike, it's a skin for Dan Brodeur, and there you go. It's 3 in a row for Dan. That was a $25 skin. Spare for Paul St. Pierre. And Joe Ashline, who could do nothing wrong in the first 4 boxes, with his first ball anyway, is all of a sudden struggling here. He'll take an 8.
And 89 through 7 after opening up with a 9, and then of course you see it 3 marks in a row, 2 spares and a strike, and Paul St. Pierre just got the double strike, and then he's open until that spare in the 7th.
We go to box number 8, worth $25.
This game can turn around in a hurry. This gentleman is struggling. Neil Gosselin, look at that, triple strike by Dan Brodeur.
Almost.
That close.
Yep.
The game can turn around. Neil threw the 190 last week, struggling this week in game number 1.
Dan Brodeur, obviously, with the double strike 9, has now taken the lead in total pinfall, and he adds the spare on top of that double strike.
He's already at 123 plus a ball in the 8th.
And and Neil Gosselin just hasn't been able to get it started yet. So a spare is up for Dan Brodeur as Joe Ashline and Paul St. Pierre step up. And there is a...
Dan Brodeur's wishing and hoping and...
Oh, my. It's not going to go over. Paul St. Pierre drops 9 also.
Well, two chances.
We may have a carryover here.
Good chance of it.
Joe missed a single earlier. The 9-pin, he's got that one. There's the carryover. And Paul misses his.
Back ready to fill it. Way to shoot.
So the first carryover means that box number 9 is now worth $50.
And Dan Brodeur very quietly working on a string of 4 marks in a row. A spare, double strike, and another spare, and this will be the fill. Oh, jeez.
Oh, my.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
My, oh, my. 5 in a row, 143 in the 9th plus 2 balls.
We had 7 skins in a row, won. 7 boxes in a row, won at the beginning of this match. There's a spare for Neil Gosselin, one that he desperately needed. We have had 7 skins in a row, won before, but never at the beginning of a match, so that is the record. It's going to take a strike to carry this one over. Look out! Look out! Ball almost had it.
Last chance. That one looks good. There's a carryover. Oh, my, that was no doubt about that one by Joe Ashline. Strike on spare.
And a spare for Paul St. Pierre. And we'll take a look at Joe Ashline's strike. Box number 10 is now worth $100. $100 on the line here in the 10th box of game 1. Look out! Strike for Dan Brodeur.
He was broke.
6 marks in a row, and 4 of them have been strikes. Neil can't convert the spare. Neil will have to wait for that pin to stop spinning. Gets it for the 10. Dan Brodeur now to fill his double strike in the 10th.
Boy, you guys leaving me behind, huh?
He's leaving all of us.
Dan is going to have a fantastic opening game.
How about a 176 for Dan Brodeur? So a 190 for Neil Gosselin last week, a 176 for Dan Brodeur to start it this week. And he may win a $100 skin here unless somebody can throw a strike to match him.
And he didn't leave a pin standing the entire game. 3 10 boxes, second, third, and fourth. The rest of it all marks.
Joe Ashline. Off target that time for Joe. Last chance to tie, and there it is, a $100 skin for Dan Brodeur. Joe Ashline almost makes the spare. Terrific effort. A 9 fill on his strike. Spare for Paul St. Pierre. A 137 for Joe Ashline with the 9 bucks. Paul St. Pierre quietly working on a good string as well. Fills his spare in the 10th with 6, and he's got a 140. So we saw some fine bowling in that first game. Dan Brodeur wins 7 skins for a total of $165 in that first game. He had 7 marks, and he won 7 skins as a result. He had several strikes, 2 doubles, in fact. Great bowling in that first game. Dan Brodeur in the lead for now. We'll be back with game 2 in a minute. All right, here's a look at the damage in that first game. The money that's been won so far, Dan Brodeur getting the lion's share of it with 7 marks in that first game, including 2 double strikes, $165. That's a pretty good first game. Paul St. Pierre and Joe Ashline on the board, and Neil Gosselin hoping to try and make something happen in this second game. So Dan Brodeur clearly with the advantage all around. You know, a lot of times we talk about guys that get the high score don't necessarily win the money, but in that game,
he did.
It was all together for Dan Brodeur.
But when you look at it, he won quite a few skins with strikes, and how many times did we have solid 9-pin drops by a couple bowlers? Any luck, and they would have been carryovers. 7
skins were won in that first game. I should say 7 boxes were, making 8 boxes were won, and 6 of them were won by strikes.
Yeah. So lucky for the bowler who's winning this skins, unlucky for those who are throwing the 9-pin drops. 10 bucks for Dan Brodeur. Neil Gosselin still looking for his first skin.
Yeah, Neil's got some work to do. Dan Brodeur obviously with the big lead in total pinfall with that 176 opening game, but there's a great race for second. Paul St. Pierre and Joe Ashline only 3 pins apart. Neil's got to make up a lot of ground just to get into the fight for second here. Well, there's a spare leave to start things off.
Yeah, just a 2 and the 4, and a piece of wood that looks like it's angled pretty favorably for him.
And he'll take that. Neil Gosselin with the spare in the second. Remember that those numbers down at the bottom of the screen are the cumulative running totals for the 2 games, so that you can keep track of total pinfall, keep track of who's running first and second, with an eye toward next week.
That's right. For all you at home, you don't have to worry about it. It was done just for you, not really for us.
Oh, Paul's going to get robbed here.
No, he's going to get it. Just a matter of time before it clips that pin. You're going to call me a liar. Look at that.
Nothing doing. So Paul will have to take a 10. So it could be a skin for Neil Gosselin to get him on the board, unless Joe Ashline has something to say here. This is a $10 skin, by the way, first box of game 2. Well, he's going to have to make a shot.
He wants that head pin to stay up. 1, 4, 6, and 10. Piece of wood behind the head pin, but not a good angle on it.
Oh, no, he didn't get it. So that puts $10 in Neil Gosselin's pocket. His first skin of the day. And a 10 bucks for Joe Ashline. So 3 10s and a spare in that opening box, and here's the near miss by Joe. Oof.
Oh. First a piece of dead wood, and then the head pin came off the left side wall and almost got that 10 pin.
So everything over there.
Dan Brodeur from Bow, New Hampshire. Dan's wife Marlene is here watching the show, and Dan works as a maintenance electrician for Concord Litho Company and does a lot of his bowling at a place called Boutwell's Bowling Center.
Where was that?
That would be in Concord, New Hampshire.
Ooh, Dan, great effort. Will that wood stay on? No.
For the 9 bucks. $10 skin here in box number 2.
Well, Dan will have a lot of explaining to do Thursday night because he bowls on my team, and both of us have been struggling the last several weeks, so I'll have to tell the rest of the teammates what he did on the show, and they're going to ask a few questions of why.
Neil Gosselin, strike on spare.
Neil all of a sudden got the hang of this game.
Well, he's been terrific the last few weeks, and he struggled in game 1 today, but maybe he's found the mark again.
Yeah, tripping the 5 pin for a strike on spare, just what he needed to get back into this match. You know, he's won 1 skin today. However, that total pinfall can bring him back next week to try to win a few more.
Yeah, and he's picked up 10 pins on everybody so far after 1 box, so that's what he's looking for. Paul St. Pierre gets a spare up on the board, so it'll be another skin for Neil unless Joe can match that strike. Nope. Joe Ashline from Nashua, New Hampshire. Joe's wife Robin and his 3 children, Derek, Cody, and Amanda, are all here. Joe is a sales manager for Cronin Electronics, does most of his bowling at the Lita lanes in Nashua. And that's a 9 box for Joe Ashline. The ball slipping into the channel. So another skin for Neil Gosselin.
It's 19 for Joe for 2 boxes.
All that damage by Dan Brodeur in game 1.
Got a good break there with the 8-pin falling down. The 1, 3, and 1, 2, and 4 left for Dan. Piece of wood in between the 2 and the 4 as well. Just enough to carry that spare. Looked like he pushed that ball a little bit, but caught enough of the head pin.
Just as a way of illustrating what we were talking about earlier, Dan, we talked about sometimes the guys who score well don't get the most skins. In that 190 game that Neil Gosselin rolled last week, he only picked up $60 in skins.
Oh
Dan
boy,
Brodeur
lost that one.
Dan Brodeur had a 176 and picked up $165. Well, that doesn't hurt Neil too much as long as he can bail out on his strike fill here. And let's see, it's getting better. It'll be an 8 fill on the strike for Neil. Well, he's done what he had to do. He got off to a good start. Pick up some ground right away. Try and pull himself back into this. But see, that's the beauty of this format, Dan, is you don't have to worry about winning. All you have to do is finish in the top 2. So Neil doesn't have to worry about Dan's 176. And you see, he's already making up some ground on the guys right in front of him. Paul St. Pierre on a spare, almost the strike.
I think if there was to give anybody an advice of coming on the skins game, I think you just got to bowl your game, try to get your scores. The skins will take care of themselves. He's got the 8-pin, and let's see.
That's going to have to be checked. It's moving right in front of the target. I'm going to guess that's in play. It is. Not by much, though.
No. Cindy got a fine eye on it and said, no, it's all right.
To have the skin, at least for the moment.
Oh, great shot.
It was like there was nothing else on the lane but that piece of wood and the 8-pin, and he made it.
Nothing else moves. Watch this. Ball goes to the right, pin goes to the left and off the wall, and everything else just sits there.
So 2 spares on the board. This is a $10 skin. Joe Ashline could steal it, but does not.
And we'll have a carryover.
That'll make the 4th box worth $25. A 9 box for Joe Ashline.
I'm getting nervous now.
Dan Brodeur just picked up a ball and dropped it. Was the reason for the comment.
He'll be working on a spare.
No reason for him to be nervous. He's comfortably in first place right now. 6 fill on the spare.
But that can get dangerous too if you get too comfortable. This has been a lot of strikes thrown today. If the wrong people throw the strikes, you can find yourself fighting for that 2nd spot. He's at 205 already. Closest one to him will be Paul St. Pierre, 179, but he's working on a spare.
9 for Dan.
And that pushes him up to 220 with that spare 6-9 bucks.
The 2 guys that advance this week will come back next Saturday. Rich Clark and Dan Gothier will join them here on Candlepin Skins.
Oh, in the 1-3 pocket, but a little light, but not as light as that leave would indicate. Neil needs marks.
Don't forget to join us tomorrow at noon here on the Winds of New England for Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Park Place Lanes in Wyndham. Interesting matchup to begin our new 4-week series. This week, Paul Berger, our number 5 seed, against Bob Whitcomb, our number 4 seed. That's tomorrow at noon here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. So a tough 7 box for Neil Gosselin.
And Paul pulls the ball to the left, just gets 5 on the spare. Right now, Dan Brodeur's leading with a skin with a $9. Well, there it goes.
A spare. 3 spares in a row for Paul St. Pierre, and he's taking over command of second place right now from Joe Ashline, who has yet to mark here in the second game.
You see the replay of that spare. Not an easy one with all the pins in the back. Sleepers, as we call them. Joe Ashline struggling here.
Joe seems to be just in one of those modes where he's either getting all or nothing. He threw some great balls early in the match, and other times he's been off target. Look at that, he halves the skin right there.
I think Paul St. Pierre might have been counting that skin.
So that'll be another carryover, and this 5th box will be worth $35, make it $40. Dan Brodeur first.
Dan will be shooting at the 2-4-7 and also the 6-10. Piece of wood in between the 2 and the 6. Oh, good effort.
Not quite.
6 pin stays.
$10 for Dan.
54 through 5 and a cumulative total of 230.
Should mention that in that first game, Dan was at 64 through 5. He put up 112 pins in the last 5 boxes.
So he should finish this game about a 165 then.
2 double strikes will do that for you.
Absolutely. 3-6 left for Neil, and Neil needs some offense. He's got to set his eyes on Paul St. Pierre right about now. Still has to get over Joe Ashline as well. But
Neil, I think, is going to get some help on that wood, which is right in front of the 3-6, and Cindy Sissom will clear it away for us, and more importantly for Neil, give him a clear shot at it. He could still use marks, as if Paul St. Pierre and Joe Ashline mark, that makes it more difficult for Neil. He's trying to catch up.
oh,
Nope.
Just sliding by to the right. Neil's approach, he approaches the pins, he walks at an angle from right to left on the approach. And sometimes that has a tendency to make you throw the ball to the right. He's 63, as you can see, and needs some marks. Paul St. Pierre can puts a little more distance between him and the other 2 bowlers.
Well, that's a 5 fill for Paul, but not much of a lead here.
He's going to climb within 30 or 31 pins of Dan Brodeur. And this skin is up for grabs for Joe Ashline. All he has to do is throw a mark.
This is a carryover worth $40, and any kind of a mark will do it for Joe Ashline here, and he actually needs a mark as well to help close the gap on second place.
He's working on a spare as well, so. Oh, off target to the right, but it got a good break. 7 drop. 1, 7, and 8 for the skin.
No, a little too fine.
Now he needs these 2 to have the skin with Dan Brodeur. Dan Brodeur has the 10 already posted.
And there it is. So that'll carry over. When we come back, we'll have a $55 skin in box number 6. Let's check those scores. The cumulative scores down at the bottom of the screen. Dan Brodeur still in command at 230. Paul St. Pierre with a 16-pin advantage right now over Joe Ashline for second place. We'll be back to settle it all here on Candlepin Skins in a minute. Dan Brodeur in command. All that skins money was accumulated in the first game when he threw a 176. He joined us late.
He almost stole one with a 10 box last frame. So he's kind of figured out, I think I got to throw some marks. Oh, he misses a single to the left.
We have not had any skins today, one with anything less than a spare. And a lot of them have been won with strikes.
So 63 now through 6 for Dan Brodeur at 239 for There's 2 game totals so far. Still an outside chance for Neil Gosselin, but he needs some marks.
He trails second place by 40 pins right now, so he's going to make something happen. Neil Gosselin from Lynn, Massachusetts, works at GE. Neil has 3 children, Brandy, Neil Jr., and Sherry. And no. Looks like the best Neil is going to do is a 9. So 9s will be good here as Paul St. Pierre comes up. Paul on lane 29, big first ball. And he's going to have to watch out for double wood over near the 10 pin for the spare. Tough shot for the right-hander, but he's right on it. Paul St. Pierre trying to keep the pressure on Joe Ashline for second place. This is a $60 carryover skin here in the 6th.
So it's going to be Paul St. Pierre's unless Joe can throw a strike or the spare to carry it over again. It's going to be a spare, if anything.
No, he got it. He halves that skin with Paul St. Pierre, and more importantly than that, Dan, he really needed the mark.
He's got a bad case of the righties.
Classic conversion there of the 4 horsemen. So now the 7th box will be worth $85. And Dan Brodeur is off target to the right. Right now, 16 pins separate Paul St. Pierre and Joe Ashline for second place. And Dan Brodeur with the spare conversion.
All eyes are now focused on what you were just mentioning, Doug, that 16-pin advantage between those 2 bowlers, or 16-pin lead for Paul, and that's a nice spare by Dan Brodeur. So all of a sudden the skins become a little less important to those 2 guys.
Neil Gosselin needs marks in bunches here. And he gets that one on the comebacker. It's going to take a strike to win this skin now.
Watch the ball. Ball hits the wood, goes up, comes right back down on the 10 pin.
Nice earlier, a nice push.
It'll take a strike for the skin. Watch out! Watch out! Oh, wow. Paul St. Pierre almost snuck up on it. Paul from Manchester, New Hampshire. He and his wife Maureen have 3 children, 3 daughters, Jessica, Amanda, and Nicole. Paul works for the New Hampshire Stamping Company, does a lot of his bowling at the King Lanes in Manchester. And he's got a spare also.
Just clipped the front piece of wood, but not enough to deflect the ball. Big marks for Paul St. Pierre as far as total pinfall going. Now he's only 12 pins behind Dan Brodeur.
Well, Joe Ashline can steal this skin with a strike. Nope. So it'll carry over again.
Joe's in the fight of his life just to come back. He's should try to convert this for the spare.
No, not enough of the 3-pin. Well, here's the carryover you've been waiting for, Dan. It's an 8-box for Joe Ashline. This is going to be a great race, it looks like here, pinfall-wise, coming down the wire. And box number 8 will be worth $105.
And we've only had 1 strike in this game by the 4 bowlers. That was Neil Gosselin, way back in the 2nd frame.
Dan Brodeur with a 7 fill on his mark as Dan, Neil, and Paul all have spares working here. Dan's going to study this one a little bit, I think.
And he's got the 2, 7, and 10.
No, boy, I thought something would happen there too. Maybe he had to go a little farther down.
Farther right, if that's what he was going to do. But I would have tried to catch this 2-pin because he had another piece of wood in back. But oh well, easy for me to say.
Wow. More importantly, just a 7-box, and with more marks here, this could get even a little closer. Neil Gosselin now on a spare. Neil is still in it. He's not out of it yet. He's trying to catch Joe Ashline. And he is off target, but drops 8 on his spare.
You have to catch...
catching Paul St. Pierre, right. Not out of it, but needs to continue to mark. Now that may cost him right there. He had to keep marking.
Tens are looking good right now.
But he leads for the skin.
With a 10. And this is $105, remember, so Neil could take himself home a little consolation prize here if neither Paul or Joe can match that 10 or better it.
I have a funny feeling that it's going to take more than 10.
This is on a spare also for Paul St. Pierre. He drops 8.
And this would really just about, well, not clinch it, but certainly would be real tough for Joe Ashline and Neil Gosselin to come back. But he does not get the spare. So there still is hope for Joe Ashline. But he's going to have to come up with some big marks.
Well, there's 2 10 boxes, so it's wide open for Joe Ashline. You're going to hear 3 guys rooting against Joe Ashline here. $105 on the line, and he needs a mark to get it.
And Joe needs a mark to get back into the total pinfall race, too. So it's a big box for Joe Ashline. Well, 1, 2, and 7.
For the skin, yes! $105 for Joe Ashline, and a big mark as well.
Hey,
fine shot. Right. Joe enjoys it. That's the same shot that he made the 4 horsemen on a moment ago. Big spare for Joe Ashline, $105 skin. This 9th box now worth $25.
Half Worcester right for Dan Brodeur. Oh, good recovery there. Will be a spare.
Oh my! Well, that should take care of Dan Brodeur. If there was a chance of anybody catching him, that should be gone now with that spare. That's a big one.
Got a piece of wood coming off the wall for the 5, and then the 6, and then the 10. Big mark, as Doug said.
Paul St. Pierre still has room to overtake Dan Brodeur, though.
And both Dan and Paul will be watching Joe Ashline, because he's not totally out of it yet working on a spare.
Boy, it looked for a while like it was going to separate into 2 pairs, first and second and third and fourth, but things have changed a lot here in game 2. A 10 for Neil Gosselin. Neil is about the only one who's definitely out of it at this point. The other 3 positions still somewhat in doubt.
I know Paul's thinking at least one more mark these final 2 frames. Now he's going to be open in the 9th. Dan Brodeur still leads for this 9th box skin with a spare in the 9th, and Joe Ashline will be able to take that away from him and help his cause at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. If Joe were to put another mark up here,
if you're to throw a strike, it's going to get real interesting.
the open for Paul also means that Dan Brodeur is a little safer in first place. But of course, Dan was safe anyway because there's no way he could have dropped to third probably. Well,
let's shout.
That'll be an 8 drop and a, well, is it a spare leave? The wood in the back that's facing might be a bit of a concern, but let's see. Oh my. Well, Joe just looked up to the ceiling and could not believe that one. So that's a $25 skin for Dan Brodeur that he was not expecting. And it's a 10 bucks for Joe Ashline. Now let's see if that costs Joe coming back next week. He trails, as you see, by 18, so he's going to have to throw strikes. A costly miss for Joe. Box number 10. Dan Brodeur adding more to his winnings there, and box number 10 worth $50. Dan is on a spare. And he will add 6.
1, 2, 7, and 9 pins left. No wood really to speak of. One in the channel there, but shouldn't really come into play.
Well, Dan's going to follow his 176 with a game that's about 60 pins or more or less, but but the big first game is going to bring him back next week. A 10 box, a 113, and a total of 289. And he is safe. Really, the only question now is, can Joe Ashline throw a triple strike, which is probably what he's going to need or close to it in the 10th.
Right, and I think Paul, if he were to get a mark, he could actually lock him out.
Right. And, of course, there's a matter of a $50 skin here in the 10th as well.
Oh, yes.
Neil Gosselin and Paul St. Pierre have just $20 in skins each. There's a spare for Neil, so he keeps himself in it for now. He's got to fill that spare, of course.
Last few weeks, we've had carryovers in this last frame as well.
We've had two big skins today. Dan Brodeur winning one for $100. Joe Ashline winning one for $105. Neil Gosselin fills with 6, a 126, and a 231. And as you can see, that's already not good enough for first or second. So Neil's run of 4 weeks in a row will come to an end. If Paul St. Pierre were to mark here, he would lock out Joe Ashline probably. And he does not. So Joe Ashline, who's certainly capable of throwing a double strike, will need one to try and overtake Paul St. Pierre. You see Paul's total, 275. So Joe, no, he did lock him out. He did lock him out, I beg your pardon.
That's why Alden Warner did this total at the bottom for us, Doug, so we wouldn't get confused. Yeah, even with the triple strike would be 473, 273. And Neil Gosselin will win that $50 skin at the end.
That's right. The spare was enough to do it for Neil, so he'll take home an extra $50. As far as returning next week, it's going to be Dan Brodeur and Paul St. Pierre coming back, and we're going to come back with more on Candlepin Skins in a minute. And welcome back to the Londonderry Bowling Center. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and let's bring you up to date on what exactly happened here today during Candlepin Skins. First of all, let's check the pinfall situation. The top 2 will return next week, so we're going to see Dan Brodeur again next week. We're going to see Paul St. Pierre again next week, but that match turned out to be a little bit closer than it might have first looked, Dan. Joe Ashline and most particularly Joe and Neil Gosselin a little bit in the early part of that second game were able to put a little bit of a charge on.
That's right. We've seen everything today. We saw a big score on 175. We saw a lot of carryovers in that second game and a lot of great Candlepin bowling.
All right, as far as the skins winning are concerned, here's the way that looks. Dan Brodeur got most of his damage done in that first game. He winds up with $190. Joe Ashline, although he did not qualify for next week, finishes second with $120. And as we have said from time to time, Paul St. Pierre, even though he will be back next week, gets just $20 in skins, but he'll be back next week with a chance to find more.
Well, he was smiling. He says, my payday's not done yet. I'll be back next week.
And also, we'll be back next week. Joining Paul St. Pierre and Dan Brodeur will be Dan Gothier and Rich Clark, 2 newcomers here to the Winds of New England. So we hope to see you back here next Saturday at noon for Candlepin Skins. Don't forget, tomorrow at noon on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, we begin a brand new 4-week series. It'll be Paul Berger against Bob Whitcomb. Until tomorrow, for Dan Murphy and the whole Winds crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a good weekend, everybody.